Hello, I'm Liselle Sambury and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things writing, traditional publishing, and a little bit of reading. And today I am trying something new. Instead of my traditional writing vlog, I've decided to do this kind of writing life monthly update. This one is encompassing both May and June because I didn't do a vlog for May, and for June I also have been kind of struggling to put a vlog together, and so I thought for the next little bit I might try out doing this sort of format. And so how this is going to go basically is I'm going to talk about my project updates. So I'm going to talk about the writing projects I've been working on for those 2 months. I'm going to talk a little bit about author life stuff, some of the author publishing things that have been going on that aren't necessarily directly related to a project. And then I'm going to talk about some of my favorites in the month, just kind of favorite things I've been enjoying or doing or hanging out with. And there's also going to be some sort of B-roll clips that will play sometimes when I am talking and sometimes not. I thought that this could kind of be a mix of recap and sort of vlog type moments that I can perhaps better commit to than I have been. And traditionally I would like this to just be 1 month, but because I was traveling for part of May and then recovering from traveling, this first one is going to encompass 2 months. So it's going to encompass both May and June. So hopefully this new format is something that you might like. I know my friend Lindsay Puckett does these sort of monthly recaps, and I really like how she does that. And that's why I decided to try these out. I will have her channel linked down below. She posts a lot more regularly than I have been, and she's also a traditionally published author, so I recommend checking her out. But without further ado or more preambling, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. For both May and June, my focus has been on the last book in my YA Dark Academia fantasy trilogy. The first book is A Mastery of Monsters. It follows a girl whose brother goes missing, and she ends up infiltrating this on-campus secret society and teaming up with a boy who is months away from becoming a literal monster to complete a series of deadly tasks in a deadly competition to try and rescue her brother. So that is kind of the gist of the series. There's 3 books. So Mastery of Monsters, the first book, is already out. The second book, A Clash of Carnivores, is coming out August 4th of this year. And then the third book, whose title has not yet been revealed, will be coming out in 2027. And so that's what I'm working on, or what I've been working on in May and June. I'm continuing to work on it. It's kind of required a lot more time than I even expected, but I'm also not surprised by the amount of time it has required. So essentially the phase I'm in right now with that book is that I got developmental edits back from my editor, and I've basically been trying to put all of that in practice. So I've been working on essentially planning out everything that I want to do, which took a significant chunk of time. I think kind of the rest of May from when I got back, I spent all of that time planning out everything that was going to happen. So basically redoing a bunch of character arcs, adding in a bunch more character relationship stuff, fixing some of the mysteries and subplots that were happening, also fixing a lot of the sort of like plot things that didn't kind of make sense, some restructuring, planning out where I needed to add a lot of chapters, that sort of thing. And so for the leftover of May from when I got back from Japan and Korea, if my vlog for that, I think it's going to come out after this video, but I will eventually put some links so you can check out the vlog that I've done there, which I think will also be a very weird formatted sort of thing, but I'll put that there. But yeah, so it was a lot of planning. And then in June, I've basically been executing everything. I hoped that I could finish executing everything in June, but that is not what has happened. I'm also having to also do July, which I guess you'll see in the next recap. So yeah, it's very tiring. I have 3 point of view characters now. The first book had 1 point of view. The second book I added a 2nd point of view, and now this 3rd book I have a 3rd point of view. So there's 3 altogether. So I'm trying to juggle getting used to that new voice and incorporating it. That character POV is really necessary for kind of giving us a new section, because in this new competition, they essentially form teams. And so there are kind of what I would say 2 main teams. And so I needed a POV from someone on that 2nd team. And so that's basically what has come to fruition. I'm trying not to be spoilery because it's the 3rd and final book in the series. So I had to put that together. So I've just kind of been running through that. It is like a huge amount of work. Like, even though my usual pace is to kind of edit 3 chapters a day, it takes so long to do those edits, and it takes so much out of me. And I think that's why I've ended up like having to keep asking for more time, because it is just such a huge world. It's so much to tie together, and I'm trying to now finish off and tie the story in a nice, neat little bow. And it just requires a lot from me. There's also a huge amount of characters, which also my editor said in the letter kind of multiple times. She was like, there's a lot of characters. And so I also have to like recap all the characters. I have to say who the characters are. And again, this is like a team thing, and there's like 5 different teams. So it's like, I can't really get into all the characters on every team, but even like the characters on kind of like the 2 to 3 main teams that I'm paying attention to, it's still a huge amount of characters. So it's a lot of logistical things that I'm putting together. And in the midst of that, I'm also trying to do character things. I also think I'm kind of still dissatisfied with the beginning. In the first book and the second book, something like really dramatic happened in the first act. And this is how I've been able to keep all the books really, really, really fast paced from start to finish. But in this book, I haven't quite figured out what to put at the beginning yet. And so I do feel like the beginning is a little bit slower than I would like. So that's something I think I'll have to work on in the next round of edits. I just can't, I can't pay attention to it at this point. I just have too much to do. So that's where I am with that book. It is encompassing a huge amount of my time and will continue to encompass a huge amount of my time. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on for both May and June project-wise. Let's jump into this author life section. So there were also a lot of things going on. So I'd gone back from my trip, and that was difficult. I kind of thought that because I'd been away for 3 weeks, that it would be so much more of like a restful time and like getting used to the different time zone sort of time. But I still came back and I was still so tired. I thought I could kind of like hit the ground running working on stuff, and I could not. I was so tired. I was constantly having naps and stuff. I was just super tired. It was like a rough start to get back into working, and even like all the stuff that I brought, like unpacking stuff and like putting things away and like finding spots for things. I still like haven't found spots for a bunch of stuff. I just have a bunch of like souvenirs just like sitting in a bag like in my closet. I haven't figured out where to put everything. And so that was difficult getting back into the swing of things. Also, like shortly after I came back, I had my very first school visit. So I went and did my first school visit presentation, which was great. I went over to Scarborough. So I drove over there and did the visit. It worked out really well. It was at a high school with a bunch of like writers class students and sort of writing club students. So that was really great. I did feel that I went a little bit quick through the presentation, a little bit faster than when I had practiced. So the next time I was like, I would like to slow that down a little bit more, but I felt like they got a lot out of it. There were also like a ton of questions. I always have this like concern that there's not going to be enough questions and it's just going to be a kind of like lasting silence, and I'll feel bad for like having wasted that question answer period. But they had tons and tons of questions that I could share a lot, which is great. And then I sold and signed some books at the end, which was also awesome. I did sell some books, which I'm such a like proponent of libraries and like teens being able to have access to books. I was like, you don't have to buy books from me. You can borrow from your library. It's in libraries. We're doing this presentation at school library. I was like, please utilize your library. It was like, you don't have to purchase, but some did purchase. Also, the librarian there did also purchase some of the books, like some of my books that they didn't have in stock for the library. So that was great. It was really fantastic, went together really smoothly. I'm very glad that I've been able to do that. I've also since booked another school visit, which is great. I haven't been like proactive in contacting schools yet, just because I've also been very busy. Like I didn't expect to have like so much going on. And so I haven't been proactive, but I've gotten some contacts, which has been good. So that's been awesome. I'm excited about doing another visit, so that was really good. I also went to some book launches. I went to June's book launch, which was like fantastic. It was in like North York, and it was great. They had like these students that did like traditional like Korean drumming, and also had like a singer who did some performing. It was very cool. So I went to that and I got to say hi to June. I also got to say hi to Sarah Suk, who I've never gotten to meet in person, which was awesome. It was really cool to like see her and just like talk to writing people. So that was great. I also went to Anuja's launch in Hamilton, which was great. And she was in conversation with Shalini, who I also have met before and was able to say hi to and chat a bit with. And that was my first book launch that I went to in Hamilton since moving here. So that was really awesome. I'm really looking forward to that as well. So that was like a great time for May and June and like going out to book events. And I was like, look at me going to book events and like participating in the author community. So that was awesome. I also went to the Toronto Comic Arts Book Festival, which is awesome. I've always wanted to go to TCAF, and it's never lined up with when I've been traveling. So I've never been able to go there, which is awesome. I was really excited to go. And I went in with the goal because I was like, Liselle, you took the GO train here from very far away. Not that far. I mean, but like far enough away. I was like, you cannot buy books because you cannot be lugging books back with you. So the rule is you can only buy like art prints and little art pieces and maybe like some t-shirts and stuff. That's all you're allowed to buy. If you see a book that you're interested in, you should take a picture of it and then like buy it from the indie back home. You cannot buy books because you cannot be lugging these books around with you. And then when I got there, it didn't quite click in my head that there would also be authors there with their books. And so then it was kind of like an opportunity also to like buy the book and like get it signed by the author. And some authors were like doing pitches for their books. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And so anyway, long story short, I did end up buying a bunch of books. Then I had this giant amount of books to lug around with me. I ended up not even getting to see all of the festival. There were like 3 different floors. By the time I had made it like halfway through the second floor, my shoulder was already breaking from the amount of books that I had. And I was like, okay, well, lesson learned for me. Next time if I come, I have to either stick to my promise to not buy books, or I need to bring with me some sort of like rolling suitcase or something that I can drag around, because clearly I have no self-control. So that was my first TCAF, but it was great. And then I like went with my friend and we like hung out and like had lunch and things like that. And I showed her all the things that I purchased and like art prints and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely next time I go to TCAF, I think I will be much better prepared for the whole situation. But it was great because I'm like such a fan of like graphic novels and things. I'm actually so behind on reading graphic novels, but I'm a huge fan. So I was glad to like get to go and see all the different stuff. And I guess more personal author life related. I also went to Pride with my friend, which was fantastic. I made my own shirt for Pride. So I sewed the shirt. It was my first time sewing like a color block shirt. So I sewed the shirt. I used my Cricut to like cut out a little phrase, which was actually from the it's a Scott Pilgrim reference with one of the evil exes. Anyway, it's a quote from her. And so I put that on the shirt. It says like, I'm a little bifurious, because that's a lie. I won't get into the Scott Pilgrim thing. Anyway, it's a comic reference. So I put that on the shirt, and so I used my Cricut. I like put it on my Cricut. I got this like rainbow heat vinyl transfer. It was great. I was a big fan of that. So we went to the parade. It was hot as balls. It was horrific. It was so hot. We really couldn't stay for the whole parade because we were baking in the sun. Very briefly saw our Prime Minister, Mark Carney. We were like, oh, there's all this like security. Why is there so much security suddenly? And then we were like, oh, there's the Prime Minister. That's probably why. So anyway, so that was that. But we had a good time. We like walked around in the like craft section and that sort of thing and like hung out and had lunch and stuff. So it was a good day. And then also my 7-year YouTube anniversary passed, which is wild. It says that I've been on YouTube since 2013 because I like started a very weird YouTube right before I went to university. It was very cringy. I deleted all the videos, but I just like kept the channel. And yeah, and then eventually I like made it my YouTube channel. So I haven't actually been here since 2013, but I have been on YouTube like making videos for 7 years, which is buck wild. I cannot believe that I've been making videos on here for so long. So yeah, I mean, if you've been here since the very beginning for 7 years, that's also wild. So thank you for being along with me on this ride from when I was way back working on Blood Like Magic and having it get ready to be published. So dang, you know, it's been a while. I'm about to have my 6th or 7th book because of the He-Man book. My 7th novel published, which is, yeah, wild stuff. But anyway, that's it for author life / personal life things. And finally, this is my section for recent faves, where I'm going to talk about some of the recent things that I've been loving. Yeah, so first I want to talk about some books. So I want to talk about Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke. I am obsessed with this book. I love this book. I'm a huge fan of this book. It is about a trad wife influencer who suddenly wakes up and finds herself in kind of the 1800s, in like real trad wife times, if you will, and has to kind of reckon with that. It is a satire, it's a satirical novel, which I feel like was not necessarily clocked with everyone, but it is a satire. This is the UK cover, which I bought because I love it more, but I also do have the US cover from Book of the Month. I listened to this book on audio in May while I was in Japan, or like on the way to Japan. So I guess maybe it was like kind of April, but I don't care. I'm still talking about it. This is definitely like, so far, this is my favorite read of the year. I am absolutely obsessed with it. Everything about it. I just think it was so fantastically written. I think the story is really engaging. I really enjoy following like a not necessarily likable main character. Like I really appreciate getting to see different styles of protagonists. I'm not the sort of person who requires relating to a protagonist or liking a protagonist in order to be engaged in their story. But I also think there were a lot of things that like I could even, you know, things that were like familiar in the text to me that I was a big fan of. So absolutely love this one. I highly recommend it. I will be very much looking out for more books by this author because I believe it's this author's debut. So I'm really looking forward to other books. So yeah, obsessed with it. And then another one of my favorite reads of the May-June period is All Her Fault by Andrea Mara. I believe it was like made into a TV show. I saw that it was made into a TV show, and then I was like, oh, I should read the book. As I frequently do, I'll like be like, oh, I should read the book, and then I'll read the book and never watch the show, which might end up being the case again. But I read the book. It's about a woman who essentially like believes that her son was going to be picked up for a play date. And so then she basically like calls the mom to be like, hey, is it fine if we like come get my son from the play date now? And the mom that she calls is like, there was never a play date. I do not have your son. And so then it becomes this whole thing of, wait, so if you don't have my son and I don't have my son, where is my son? And it becomes this whole like missing kid thing. It's a domestic thriller. I love a domestic thriller. This is my jam. I love a dramatic domestic thriller. It is my thing. I'm so obsessed with it. And this is my first time reading from this author, and I loved it. This was an awesome thriller. The twist in this thriller, I was listening to it on audio and I actually like aloud, I was like, no, I was like, wait, oh my gosh, are you serious? Like I was losing my mind with this twist. I was like, this is so good. I was like, this is so, anyway, I was floored. I could not believe it. I was wrapped up in it. It just like, it blew my little mind. I couldn't believe it. And then I finished that book and I read it in a day also. I like just voraciously listened to it the whole day because I was so obsessed with like, what's going to happen and like, what's happening next and like, what's going on. Just so my speed of a thriller. So I read that and then I finished it and then I immediately read another thriller by the same author. It was called It Should Have Been You, another domestic drama, but this is like neighborhood domestic drama sort of stuff. Like this woman basically like, she's insulting another woman in the neighborhood and like kind of spilling some of her secrets. And she accidentally ends up sending it to a full neighborhood group chat. And so everyone in the neighborhood sees this snarky message spilling this woman's secrets that was just supposed to be sent to her sisters. And it ends up just like causing a domino effect of like all these other dramatic things happening in the neighborhood. It was also very good. So now I'm like, have found a new favorite thriller author. So I will be checking out a lot more of Andrea Marr's stuff. I think the author has like something new that's coming out soon. So those were like the big reads for me that I was obsessed with in the May-June period. Other things I was obsessed with, I got a bunch of nail inks while I was in Korea. I've always wanted to try these with nail art. So I got a bunch of those and I've been experimenting with those, which has been great. I've also gotten really into building the Row Life, the Super Creator sets, building those and putting my Smiskies inside because I saw someone do that on TikTok and I was like, that is amazing because I have so many Smiskies and I had just been kind of like putting them random places, but I was like, that is amazing. I can make little homes for them. So I've become obsessed with buying the Super Creator sets. You can buy discounted ones on Amazon. They're actually like quite expensive, but you can find discounted ones at HomeSense and also at Michael's. If you go to Michael's and you use your 40% off coupon, you can get it for 40% off. So that's been my new thing is buying them at HomeSense and Michael's and like building them and stuff. So that's my new thing. I've been very obsessed with that. I've also gotten really obsessed with matcha. So again, because I was in Japan, I was having a lot of matcha and I was like, wow, I actually really love matcha because I'd previously just been like, having matcha at whatever chain coffee store. And it was like, it was not that good. The last time I had it, it was like gritty and I was like, this is terrible. But since then I've gotten really obsessed with like making it at home. So there were some like matcha containers, like some of them that I got in Japan that I've been trying. There's been some I've been ordering online. And so I've just been very into making my own iced matcha and having that every morning with oat milk as like a latte. So that has been fantastic. So those are kind of like the things I've been very obsessed with in May and June. And yeah, looking forward to that. Anything else? Ooh, I also watched the movie Obsession with my friend. We went and saw it. This is peak horror. This is for me the best horror movie I've watched since what? Since like The Substance. I think The Substance stands out to me in my mind as the last horror movie I watched where I was like, wow. Watched Obsession, which is about basically a guy, he gets this one wish willow thing to like make a wish and like it'll come true. And he ends up wishing for this girl he likes to love him more than anyone else in the world, which is a wild thing to wish for. But he makes this wish and she becomes obsessed with him. And it is wild. It is both like genuinely scary and also very funny. And I think that is a very difficult combination to get in a horror movie, but it is truly like a very good like comedy and also terrifying. And so it was just fantastic. Definitely like absolutely a favorite horror of the year so far. And now I'm obsessed with figuring out a book that I could comp to Obsession. Because I'm really into it now and I'm like, oh man, what would that look like? Like I'm really into it now. It was fantastic. So if you get a chance to check it out, I highly recommend checking out. And that's it for recent faves of May and June. That's all for this May and June writing recap. Let me know what you think about this new format, if this is something you like and enjoy. I think this won't be something I'll do all the time. I think, you know, if I'm gonna like go somewhere or like travel for writing, I think then I'll like put together a vlog. But I kind of like this format for when I'm basically kind of at home or I'm finding it difficult to put a vlog together, just so that I can have something to kind of share and recap the month, instead of like, I find that if I miss a vlog, I'm just like, okay, there's just no vlog. And then I just never talk about what happened that month. I like being able to have this recap and kind of share some of that stuff and maybe save vlogs for when I have like a month that's like maybe more packed with things going on, where I can take you around and where I've actually like committed to taking you around and doing all of that stuff. Or I don't know, or maybe I'll just do the recaps going forward and I'll save vlogs for like retreats or like research trips. I don't really know what I'm going to do, but for now, I'm glad to at least have done this recap to kind of share with you what I've been working on for May and June. And then I'll have like another recap probably at least for July, and then we'll see how it goes from there, basically. So yeah, let me know what you think of this. I will be posting a vlog at some point of my Japan and Korea trip. I'm hoping to put it up after this one, also in July, but we will see what I succeed at doing. But yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!